Oh boy, let's do it, because like I said, I want to talk about everybody. So we get done breaking down Leafs and Blue Jackets, and obviously you could rant and ramble about that all day long. I guess I want to stay in the East, mainly because I know Deej is in chat right now. Islanders, Panthers. Now, perhaps not the two most interesting teams, aside from the fact that they met in the playoffs a few years ago. It was probably like 6 years ago at this point, and that blows my mind. But still, for the New York Islanders, I think the interesting thing for them, it might not be saying much because it was against the Florida Panthers, but they were able to put up some goals at times against the Cats, which they desperately needed to do because the Islanders don't exactly have the best offense in the world. Everybody knows, okay, Barry Trotz is the head coach. It's a more defensive style. And I think the interesting thing for them at this point, of course, you have ping pong champion J.G. Pageau on the team. But obviously, despite some interesting contract situations and everything, and obviously it's going to be an interesting offseason too because Matt Barzal's deal is up at the end of this season. But I think, if there was a team that needed to play a team like Florida, no disrespect, Deej, it was the Islanders, to try and find that offensive groove because, again, as a defense-first kind of team, the strategies worked. I mean, Semyon Varlamov was solid this season, played a decent amount of games as well, 932 against the Panthers. So, I mean, it was a very strong start for the Islanders. And then you got to look at the Florida Panthers where, unfortunately, there's more talking points for them in the immediate aftermath. I mean, for the Islanders, you look ahead, you get Washington. And I'm not sure that's who you wanted to see on the other side of this. However, you look to last year for the Caps, and you fall short in 7 games to the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, different circumstances, obviously. The Caps back in the playoffs. 2018 they win the Cup. 2019 they get bounced in the first round. I don't know exactly what we're going to see from Washington. Obviously, they beat the Bruins to earn the 3 seed. And I actually did put out a video talking about who I thought would win the round robin. And I actually thought pretty much every team would stay the same in their order. And then you have the Bruins absolutely choking. And we'll get to that in a minute. Their 0-4 round robin run. But I don't know if the Islanders wanted to necessarily see the Caps. But really, you could argue out of the 4 teams that were in the round-robin play on the Eastern Conference side, was there any of the teams you really wanted to see? Suppose if you're Columbus, you wanted to see Tampa. That's about it. But yeah, for the Islanders, I mean, hey, you're in the postseason, and let's be honest here, like it or not, Leafs fans, the John Tavares factor. Like it or not, it's a huge win for the Islanders, and sure, living rent-free, whatever. Islanders fan base has to be feeling pretty good. John Tavares is out. Islanders are in. They might get dumped in the first round, but hey, they made it further than Tavares. And it has to make you wonder. Now, he's not hurting in the bank account, but John Tavares, this whole Toronto adventure hasn't really worked out so far. But yeah, for the Islanders, everything's looking okay. For the Florida Panthers, again, you fire Dale Talon in the immediate aftermath of this series, which is the right call. It was long overdue that Dale Talon was dropped. And we haven't exactly done a GM trade history for Dale Talon. Maybe that's something we do on the YouTube side of things in the near future, because it's not a very pretty win-loss record, I'm quite sure. For the Panthers, at least, 12.5% chance of getting Lafreniere. I know a lot of people are like, oh, he's going to go here, one of the big teams. 12.5% chance that Lafreniere ends up on this Florida team, who, they're facing an interesting offseason. Dadonov, Hoffman, their deals are up. Eric Holla, which, the Holla for Trocheck deal, it looks a little bit better for Carolina initially, trading for Holla, giving up Nick Waugh, who looked pretty damn good for the Vegas Golden Knights in the round-robin play. But for Eric Holla, you have the injury concerns. What kind of contract does he get from the Panthers, if any? I don't know. But there are enough expiring contracts here that whoever comes in for Talon can at least put his own spin on the team. The issue that you have here, 2 more years of Barkov, and 3 more years of Huberdeau. Jonathan Huberdeau. If you waste these 2 years of Sasha Barkov, he is 100% gone. If you do well and show promise, he might stay, take the big contract to stay in Florida, be a big fish in a small pond, make a ton of money, and maybe find success. I mean, these next 2 years are two of the most important years in the history of the Florida Panthers coming up. There's no doubt about it in my mind. Two of the most important years for the Panthers, because you are playing and really having to set the road work here for keeping your stars in Florida, which is never an easy thing to do. Problem, of course, being you have Michael Matheson, healthy scratch Michael Matheson, signed until the end of time. You have 2 more years of Anton Strawman. There are some decent pieces here, but Sergei Bobrovsky. Also, they have a $2.3 million buyout, apparently, on Scott Darling and the Luongo recapture penalty. So, things are going great right now in Florida. But the thing here, I mean, Sergei Bobrovsky. You know, the word was like, oh, he has good years than bad years. Not really. I mean, yeah, had a down note in the playoffs in 17-18, but for the most part, Bobrovsky, I mean, good in the regular season, bad in the playoffs. Good in the regular season, bad in the playoffs. Decent in the regular season, great in the playoffs. And then just a piss-poor season in Florida. So, whoever takes the job in Florida has a very interesting, 2 years ahead of them. Because they already have a pretty good prospect pool. I mean, Heponiemi, Borgstrom, Tippett for the forward side of things. Defensively, I really like Chase Prisky. I like Tommy Cross too, but he's 30 at this point. So it's an interesting set of prospects that they have already. But what happens in the next 2 years? I mean, if you get Lafreniere, immediately the outlook is a hell of a lot better. But if you don't, what are you going to do here? Because in terms of the teams that played in the qualifying round, you could argue that they were relatively embarrassed, if we're being honest here. And, there was a sweep in the series, but you could argue the Panthers were relatively embarrassed. So I don't know what happens next for the Florida Panthers. A lot to be decided. The building blocks are there if they bring in the right man for the job. Man or woman, perhaps, but will they do that? It is the Florida Panthers, after all. For the New York Islanders, major victory in more than one way. And do they have the ability to pull off the upset against the Caps? I'm going to say yes. But will they? I'll talk about the playoff predictions a little bit. I want to move on.